Okay, this video is going to be about how to make offers for different levels of the market. What we've found is that 99% of B2B businesses, so that's an agency, consultancy, software, whatever it may be, 99% of those actually lose out on up to 66% of their total profit because they are wasting a really, really high percentage of their leads. So if you're an agency owner, if you're a B2B business owner, that's obviously this is sort of like a higher level training, so it's not exactly for beginners. It's more for people who have sort of gotten their initial traction. They've gotten their initial, initial clients at the very least. You're pushing at least minimum into the range where you're actually looking to scale rather than start. That's really who this is for, because if you're looking to scale, this is a great way to do it. So what we're covering today is going to be the offers strategy that scaled Matt from 0 to over 900K a month in under 12 months. So we've got a separate webinar that's going to cover traffic driving, capturing leads, turning leads into sales calls and revenue streams. This one is going to be basically a more broader training about the types of offers that you can use. And then in the webinar, we'll go over the exact more specific ones that Matt used. We also have 12 free trainings that you can get access to. It's actually 11 other ones that doesn't include this one. So if you want to go learn more about cold email, content prospecting, newsletters, conversion mechanisms, partnerships, and productivity, etc., basically everything that you'd need to grow a B2B company, what you can do is you can go to this link and you'll be able to find those 12 trainings. You can just download them right there. If you want to get access to one free month of 1000x leads, then you can feel free to grab it at the link as well. It's a 120-day program that basically designs your company into a lead gen juggernaut, helps you convert cold traffic at scale, avoids relying on singular acquisition channels or personal brands or networking or word of mouth or stuff like that. So if you're looking to get more leads and become a bit more of a robust company that can sort of absorb a bit more damage when it comes to acquisition, because usually, people's acquisitions look like this. If you want to sort of avoid that feast and famine, you can do that with something like this. So you can get the first month for that for free, actually, if you are interested. So without further ado, let's jump in straight into the introduction. So in terms of the main three problems that a B2B business will face, they are essentially, number one, that they can't generate enough leads, which is kind of self-explanatory. People are aware of that. Number two is that people have no way of converting cold traffic at scale. So they can get clients from their network and referrals, or even a personal brand if you have one, but you can't seem to get people who don't know you to actually buy from you. And then the thing that we're talking about in this video is that they are heavily under-monetized, which means they only make a fraction of what they could make. And this is because they only sell their main core service and they have no other revenue stream. So if that's you and all you have is your main core service, which is probably a monthly recurring revenue service, then this video is specifically for you, because it's likely that you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So solving this last one actually also helps the first two, because it gives you more options and a proper funnel to help you convert people at different stages, and doing so will give you more money, which you can use to generate more leads. So as you can imagine, just really on a macro level, what you're going to see is that when you're trying to convert someone on a monthly recurring revenue service, like for example, you can do their email marketing or their SEO, whatever it may be, there's a very small conversion window when someone would buy that. So if you're trying to generate a lot of leads and scale into cold traffic and actually get a stranger to come in and say, yeah, I want to buy your stuff, a lot of the times they're not going to be in that conversion window, and you kind of have to either wait until they're in their conversion window and keep them active, or wait for them to come to you, which is probably what you're doing right now in terms of referrals, networking, etc. So the way that we can combat this is by building sort of a system to actually do so, because obviously if you can solve it, you have access to a lot more revenue, but it's just hard to solve. So that's why you need a system. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. In terms of what under-monetize means, to monetize means to earn revenue from an asset or a business. Using this definition, the term under-monetize means we are earning less revenue than we should, or we are earning less revenue than what is possible. That is literally the definition that we'll work with, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. You are under-monetized. Most likely, literally 99% of B2B businesses are under-monetized. So essentially, if you want to look at it in a really simple way, here is what you're making, and here is what you should be making. So to solve this, there are four main ways that you can do it. Number one is going to be products. Number two is going to be services. Number three is going to be programs. And number four is going to be partnerships. Products essentially include something usually between $10 to $100 in cost or value that is completely automated, so we're not involved with the delivery at all. It might be one size fits all. They pay X amount and they get the product automatically in return, the exact same way that I bought this coffee. This coffee cost me $5. It's delicious, and I just got that product. Exact same thing. In terms of a service, this is where someone pays us money to perform a task or solve their problem. Services are pretty self-explanatory. It's likely what you're already doing. What is important and what is notable for this training is that we want to have both a one-time service and a recurring service because having both is an essential part of making sure we are as fully monetized as possible. Furthermore, it is much easier for someone to commit to a one-time service than it is for them to commit to a multi-month, essentially ongoing service, because the conversion window is going to be larger. So there's going to be a larger percentage of time where someone will buy a one-time service compared to when someone commits to a multi-month thing. It's kind of the exact same way that you're going to want to go on more dates with people than you will get married to people. You might get married to one or maybe a couple people if you're unlucky and you have a couple divorces. It's much more likely that you have these kind of short commitments where you say, oh, I'll have a date there, have a date there, have a couple girlfriends there, have a couple, boyfriends there, whatever you do. And you it's lower commitment is what I'm trying to say. Maybe that was a terrible example, but it's lower commitment. So having those one-time services in place allows you to get more people in the door that could potentially be a fit to go into your higher commitment stuff down the track. But anyway, let's not get harped down on that. Let's continue. The other ones are programs. So this is when you transfer your expertise, experience, skills, intelligence, perspectives, ideas, etc., to your clients instead of actually providing those services. And then you have partnerships, which are things like white label deals, referral deals, affiliate deals, joint ventures, media, and more. And basically, similarly to how we need to do all four main acquisition methods of content, outreach, paid ads, and partnerships, we also need all four monetization methods if we want to operate at 100% efficiency, or at least close to that. In terms of evaluating these monetization methods, what you're going to look at is with a product, the setup cost is going to be high. It's going to take a little minute to build. It's going to take a while to build, high effort on that side. But then the ongoing effort, meaning the maintenance that you have to do, is going to be lower because you don't really have to keep updating it over time. In terms of the profitability, it's going to be a little bit lower because they're obviously lower cost. So it's going to be lower average order value, lower LTV, et cetera, et cetera. And that's, again, because the price and the value is quite low. But overall, the effort to profitability ratio is quite low as well. So it's going to be a decent amount of effort, but the profitability might be a little bit lower. But again, it's crucial to have them there just because, you just need to have them. Then you will have your services, which have a low to medium setup cost or setup, sacrifice, just because obviously, if you already know the skill and you already have everything in place, there's not really a lot that you have to look at in terms of actually how to set up the delivery of them. Obviously, you have your SOPs and things like that and your processes that you'll need to build. That's why it's on the medium side. And obviously, as you scale, it gets more and more difficult, but which is why you have the ongoing effort as really, really high for those services. In terms of the profitability, it's low to medium. Obviously, it's higher. It's going to be higher AOV and higher LTV. But you're also going to have way more costs. So that's why it's in the low to medium range. In terms of the price and value, it's quite high. And the effort to profitability ratio is quite low, purely because there's a lot of effort. The profitability is kind of there, but it is a lot of effort to do those. It's quite difficult to scale for a lot of people at high margins. That's why it's effort to profitability. Then you have your programs, which are high setup costs because you have to build a lot of content, you have to build a lot of SOPs, you have to build a lot of systems and infrastructure to make sure that your clients will actually get results. And it's very, very difficult. And then you have your ongoing effort being medium because you have to continually update that to make sure they get results. And there's a lot that goes into actually building a program. But within that, the profitability is really, really high because you can scale in a leveraged fashion with things like content, systems, processes, etc. So a lot of the times you can actually detach your monetary value and the value you can give your clients with your time. You can actually detach that so you can give value without necessarily giving more time. In terms of the price and value equations, high price, high value. And then as a result of all that I just mentioned, there is a medium effort to profitability ratio because it's a pretty decent amount of effort, but it also is really profitable. So a lot of the times it is worth it. Then you have your partnerships, which are low to medium to set up. They're low ongoing effort because you don't actually have to do anything. And then they're high profitability because, again, the 0% costs, 0% anything. You just have the partnership and it's there. In terms of the price of value, it's medium to high depending on what you charge. And the effort to profitability ratio is really, really high because it doesn't take much effort, but you can make a lot of profit. In terms of the monetization funnel, what you're going to see here is that you're going to have your traffic. In terms of the breakdown of what's going on here, you have your traffic sources up here, your paid ads, organic, outreach, partnerships. You have all of the leads. And essentially with these leads, you're going to have a different level of qualification. So about 80% of the leads that you get will never be able to buy your service, whether that's because they're just too low in revenue or whether it's just not a good fit or whether their best friend provides the exact same service that you do. And what you can do when that happens is send them to an affiliate SaaS. So for example, if you run a cold email agency, you can affiliate for SmartLead, you can affiliate for ListKit, things of that nature. You can also send them to low ticket products. So you might have a script swipe file. You can have, a bunch of different things like templates, ebooks, etc. that can be low ticket products, and you can actually make money off them. If they aren't broke, so if they do actually have some revenue, the question becomes, are they looking now? And then from there, about 17% of the leads will be disqualified. So as a result, what happens is they're going to go back into the pool of organic content, outreach, paid ads, etc., and they're not actually going to buy right now. So you basically have to keep them in your CRM for outreach. You have to wait till you reach out to them again, or ideally you have them on your newsletter, you have them on your lists, etc., and then they can kind of keep you front of mind, and you can continually retarget them with paid ads. If they are looking for it right now, the next question is, can they afford it, and do they have like a real strong need to the point where it would be worth it to drop that amount of cash, essentially? Only about 3% of the total leads will make it here. If they don't make it past this qualifier of being able to afford it, you have things like referring them to a smaller agency or referring them to a smaller company that they can afford, giving them a done with you program that is cheaper per month than whatever your main monthly recurring service is. Or you can sell them a course, which is obviously just showing them, hey, if you don't have the cash to pay us to do it, you're going to have to do it yourself. That means it'll be cheaper, but obviously we're not going to be doing it, so we can't really guarantee results. Here is all of our SOPs. Here are our templates. You can go and do it yourself. That's fine. And then you'll basically get a couple there as well. If they do have the ability to afford it, the question becomes, what do they want? So what's their preferred method of, what's their preferred modality of consumption, or whatever it may be? What's their preferred way of going through your stuff? And about 10% of those will want it to do it themselves. They'll want either consulting or they'll want a course or something like that. 15% will want to do it with them. So just basically go through a program, you consult them on how to do it. And then 75% will want done for you, which comes in the form of either a one-time service or a recurring service. So if we go all the way up this funnel, you can basically see that at each conversion event that's occurring, there's a percentage of leads that you won't be able to monetize if you don't have that thing. So for example, if 80% are going to be disqualified, that means you're losing money on 80% of the people that come through the funnel. If 17% will not be looking now, that means you're going to lose 17% by not having these things. If only 3% can afford it, then you're losing money by not having these things. And then even down here, only 75% of the 3% that make it to that point will want done for you, which means 25% of the leads will want something else, which means if you don't have that, you're losing money on them too. But like I said before, most businesses only have services. So the vast majority of businesses are actually in this spot where they don't have 90% of the stuff on this little diagram, because they only focus on one of the 4 monetization methods, which is, done for you services, and basically monthly recurring done for you services as well. So it's not even the one-time services either. And drilling down even further, like I said, they only provide one type of service within that. So it's really, really narrow in terms of the amount of people that you will ever be able to monetize. There's only going to be a certain amount of people that are in their conversion window for a multi-month recurring high ticket service at any given point. And because of this, a lot of them lose out on up to 80% of potential revenue and an even higher percentage of potential profit, because products, programs, and partnerships usually have a higher profit margin than services. In terms of why it's relevant to become fully monetized, like I said, if you miss out on 97% of the leads, so you actually have 3% of the total leads are going to be qualified out of all the traffic you get. So let's say you get, they're qualified here, they're qualified here, they're qualified here. That number will only be 3% of the total leads. So then that means also of that 3%, you will only be able to get maybe 75% of that 3%. So if you only have the recurring service, with every extra string to the bow that you add, or every tool to the toolkit that you add, you're going to be able to monetize each step up in the leads. In terms of the breakdown of the average target market, which is kind of what I'm alluding to here, about 80% of any market are brokies that will never ever buy anything over $100 from us. They just can't afford it. They're not mentally ready. They don't have a need. And without monetizing them through low ticket products and affiliate marketing, this entire portion of the market, which is literally 80%, is completely wasted, and it is as if they don't exist at all. Then you have about 17% of the market being beginners. The term beginners in this case doesn't mean they're noobs or actually beginners. It means they are just not ready for our service. They cannot afford it. This is about 17% of the market. And obviously that 17% will be sometimes actually equivalent to the 80% in terms of the dollar value that we're missing out on. So missing out on monetizing them is actually the same, even though they're a different portion, they're a different number of people within that market because they typically spend a little bit more. So missing out on them is a huge loss that most businesses take without even realizing it. And the thing is, with this 3% that is qualified, they actually have basically the equivalent of dollar value compared to the beginners and the brokies because they pay us very, very high ticket and most of the time recurring. So they have a really high LTV, but there's not as many of them. So you can see the more people there are in the brokey market, it's kind of crazy because there's so many of them. Even if they only pay us $100, they'll still have the same dollar value. And it's the same as the beginners. Even if it's only 17% of the market, they will still likely pay us the same dollar value as the qualified portion and the brokey portion. So when you look at that qualified portion of the market, these are people that can afford our service and are looking for it now. And this is likely the only portion of the market that you currently target. And like I said, you will probably get 33% of your revenue or 33% of your total potential revenue from this market, 33% from here and 33% from here. So that means if you don't monetize this 2/3 of the market, you are literally losing on 2/3 of your total potential revenue. As you can see in the diagram here, they might be a different amount of people in each percentage, but they should account for an equal amount of your revenue. As you can imagine, as I just explained, because every B2B business does not offer anything besides their core service, or almost every B2B business, they're missing out on up to 66% of their total revenue. And this is what the process looks like when you only offer your core service. Unfortunately, that is the situation for most B2B businesses. And if they were to fix that situation, they would enter a golden age like they have never seen before. And the 1% of B2B businesses who have all levels of offer and monetize brokies and beginners are the ones who are actually doing record profits year after year right now, no matter what happens with the algorithms or a cold email, deliverability, or what happens with the ad platforms. These are the things that can really build you into a robust and sellable asset, or just a cash flow machine that is very, very steady. So a lot of the problems that you'll see is that you're either feast and famine, or a lot of the work relies on you, or the inputs are just sort of at the mercy of one singular thing, and it's sort of a house of cards where if one card gets pulled away, you're kind of screwed. So if you want to build something that's really robust, this is what that entails. We want a relatively equal split. So we want to have multiple different revenue streams for different products, services, programs, and partnerships, because having multiple revenue streams leads to more stability and reduces the risk. In addition to this, products, programs, partnerships, and partnerships revenue tend to have a much higher profit margin than services. So in many cases, if we get a relatively equal split between them, we might make 4 times the money than if we just sold services, but we actually might make 8 to 12 times more profit. So we might put 8 to 12 more times the money in our actual pocket. And you can see the breakdown listed here if you want to take a quick screenshot. You might be thinking a lot of these numbers are kind of made up, but this is how it actually plays out in reality. These numbers are based on tons of data, and they're reflective of how they play out in the market. In a lot of cases, you don't actually need to get any more leads to get more money. You just need to monetize them better with things like digital or info products that have 100% margin. You might have programs that cost more than services in terms of total value, but usually cost less on a monthly basis. Or you might have partnerships such as affiliate marketing that can generate a lot of revenue at a 100% profit margin. So you can see here, if you do this all correctly and you hit KPI for everything, that's an extra $200,000 per year, or per 100,000 leads each for this example. And you're probably going to have more than 100,000 leads in a year if you are really pushing the envelope. And then you can compare this to what 99% of businesses are doing, where they have their 100,000 leads, only 3% of the market are in the market for it. They might have 100 estimated conversions. They might have a 5K LTV, and that'll lead to a total revenue of 500K with a profit margin of 25%, which means 125K in profit, versus this one where we have all of these conversions and it equals $817,000 in total profit. And then the next thing is creating enterprise value. So this is about turning your business from a job into a sellable asset. So when you have all 4 revenue streams and you're getting income from different sources, you're not only making money, but you have a much more stable business. You're no longer relying on solely client revenue just from services. And this makes you attractive to people who buy businesses. And basically the reason for that is that when you rely just on services and nothing else, your business isn't really a true asset. An asset is something that can be sold. Nobody really wants to buy a business that relies solely on client revenue from services. Clients could leave. You always have to get more clients, and they might as well just get the clients themselves rather than buying another business. What you're looking for is to build an actual asset that has value within itself rather than just relying on essentially a list of clients. You can sell a list of clients for whatever the cost of acquisition is, but you can sell a system and an asset for a lot more than that. So that's why you see a lot of agencies, when they exit or when they get valuated quite lowly, and a lot of it is not cash up front. A lot of the valuations that you'll see will be things like earnouts, et cetera, et cetera. It's very rare to get cash up front. In terms of monetizing the brokies and actually how to do this, like we said before, when you generate leads, upwards of 80% of them will actually not even be qualified for your service. So that doesn't mean, that basically means they won't have what it takes financially, mentally, knowledge-wise, experience-wise, or skill-wise. And there's basically nothing you can do to change this. It's just a fact of life. The term brokies doesn't really mean that they're completely poor and it's just like a money thing. Being a brokey is one thing, and not having enough money is another thing. So it's the difference between being broke and being poor. One means you don't have any money, and one is referring to a way of life. So being a brokey basically just means you have kind of the wrong mindset. You have the wrong frame of viewing the world as well. So even if you cannot sell your services to this group, you're still going to need to find a way to monetize them, because if you don't, upwards of 80% of your leads will be entirely worthless. One way that you can do this is through products and partnerships. What this looks like is basically sending 80% of your leads through to these products and partnerships. So maybe you might get 2% of them to convert on products, which might mean that you convert 1,600 ish out of per maybe 100,000 leads, with a lifetime value of $100, and then your total revenue will be $200K, profit margin being 100%, because obviously it's just a digital product. That means you're going to make $160K from them. Then with the partnerships, you might convert 1.5% of them. That means 1,200 or 1,300 conversions, and then with an LTV of $150, you might make another $200K, 100% profit margin. That's another $200K right there, so you get a $350K total profit added. If you're wondering why some of these numbers are different compared to the ones on previous slides, this is to account for the percentage of products and partnership revenue that will be generated from beginner and qualified groups. Brokies are not the only ones who are going to buy your products and generate partnership revenue through affiliates, but they will be the bulk of it. So what you can see here, you can add $350,000 in total profit per 100,000 leads just by having this in place. So it's not even about getting more leads, like I said before. Sometimes it's just about having the ability to monetize certain leads. A few notes on this though, is that when you're doing this, you're typically going to do so with a variety of low ticket or digital, info products ranging from $10 to $100. You can also do this through affiliate marketing, which is a type of partnership, meaning you can recommend a software to them, and if they sign up, you'll receive a recurring commission every month until they cancel. Which means, for example, if you get 1,600 of the total of 80,000 leads in this example to sign up for one of many possible softwares with your affiliate link, you could get an average of $25 per month in recurring commissions for everyone you refer, until and unless they cancel. So if each affiliate sign up gives you $25 a month in commission and lasts 6 months before canceling, that's $150 in affiliate revenue generated per customer. And that means you would get paid $240K from this over the course of 6 months in affiliate partnership revenue. Then if you got them to sign up for more than one software or stay for more than 6 months before canceling, you could make a lot more money than what is in the example. In terms of monetizing the beginner segment does not really refer to people who are actual beginners. Like I said, this is just people that cannot afford your service, but they might be looking for it. So maybe you charge $7K a month for paid advertising for businesses and they are just too small, and they wouldn't be able to justify that. So there is nothing really wrong with that. But the important thing to remember is that we need to put a lot of time and effort into helping and treating this segment, because as they grow, they will one day be able to afford our services. So we want to nurture, help them, treat them extremely well, so that when they grow into the type of business that can afford our services, they are eager to work with us instead of our competitors. When it comes to monetizing this beginner group, you can do so through products, some services, some programs, and partnerships. Just like you did with the brokies, you're going to be able to use products and partnerships. However, this group is often looking for your service. It's just that a lot of times they can't afford it. So it puts us in a bit of a weird spot where we still need to have something to offer them, but our main offers are probably too expensive. So you can have some things like a course teaching people how to do your service. Maybe that'll cost between $500 and $2,000. And this course should be absolutely amazing, not half-assed at all. So it should dispel basically every single thing you know about your service in an easy to read format, such as this document that you're reading right now. And in my opinion, this course should be considered a service that you offer. So you should treat this course as if it were a service. Because then what can happen is that, what can happen is that you have 17% of your market go through. You're going to convert 1% of them on a product, or 2% of them on a product, 0.5% of them on a service, 0.05% of them on a program, and 1% of them on partnerships. So that means you're going to get 340 product purchases, 85 service purchases or course purchases, 8 program purchases, and 170 partnerships conversions. That means your LTV on each of those are going to be $100, $1K, $12K, and $150 respectively, which equates to $34K, $85K, $96K, and $25K in revenue. And that's a really high profit margin. So only the programs have lower than 100%, which means that the total gross profit comes out all the way to $216K from just these 17% of the market, which means that essentially you can make a good amount of cash. That's not a trivial amount of money. That's about, 20K a month or something. And then the other thing that you want to note is that the products usually upsell into other offers, and the service in this instance refers to your course. But that's not to say that even if you get someone to go through the course, it doesn't mean they're not going to convert on a program or a done-for-you service down the line. This is literally just on the front end. A percentage of your program sales will come from the beginner group because programs typically cost more, but they are a cheaper overall rate per month than your actual service. And if you have a course that you can sell as a service to this group of members, you're going to be able to make quite a bit of money, 85K in this example. And if you don't, you will literally just lose all of this potential revenue. It simply won't exist. If you didn't have a course in this example, the total profit would be 182K instead of 267K. And that's a mid-level salary for an employee for an entire year just by having this course. Or you can also consider it the monthly housing and car payment for the average person. So it's pretty important to have a course, you could say. There's a good chance they will buy your course now and then your service down the line as well when they can afford it because they simply don't have time or the desire to perform the service on a day-to-day basis. But if you don't sell them anything and you kind of just let them go off into the abyss, buy from someone else, they enter someone else's ecosystem and you will lose them as a potential client. And just a few notes on this. When you are monetizing these beginners, you will typically do so via these sort of variety of product services, programs, and partnerships. You'll do it through affiliate marketing, which is a type of partnership. So you can recommend a software to them the same way you did with the brokies. And a bulk of the revenue in this group will be generated by people who go through your program. It is a great fit for them specifically because this group is usually small businesses that have the time and the desire to learn how to do X, which is your service, by themselves. And they just want someone to teach them so they can make sure they're doing it at a high level. It's also very important to have a course that ranges from 500 to 2,000 here that can take the place of your service, which they can't afford. And then that's probably going to account for about 1/3 of your revenue from this group. So you're mainly looking at program, affiliate links, low ticket products, and a high ticket course in that side. Then you will get to your quality leads, which are the main section. This will be the shortest section of the 3 because this is probably the one that you're already monetizing. However, there will be some specifics that need to be reviewed. You can monetize your quality lead through your full suite of offerings, and you should have a full suite because, like we went over before, even though they are all qualified for your service, they will likely have a preferred way of consuming your service or going through that service. So you should have basically every single thing in this graphic in order to be fully monetized. That's products, services, programs, and partnerships. And you want to note that quality leads are not usually looking for products, and the vast majority of clients for services and programs will come from this segment, but it is the smallest overall segment. So this is why the conversion rates are so high compared to the total conversion rates. And as well, another thing to note is that usually, because for obvious reasons that they're the most qualified, they will have quite high LTVs. It's just that there's less people in those niches. Or in that segment of leads. So although most people are monetizing this segment, it's very rare that they are monetizing it to the fullest potential. And this is really the only segment that basically every B2B business will monetize. It's just that there are some important things to be considered here. In terms of the types of offers that you are going to use, you really just have to know that fundamentally there's three types. There's do-it-yourself, done with you, and done for you. When talking about services, there are three different options. So when most people talk about services, they're talking about some form of done for you service that is usually based on recurring revenue. In 95% of the cases, this is what they're referring to, and 95% of B2B businesses only monetize their quality leads through done for you services that have a recurring retainer. So you get paid every month, basically. But if you scroll down here, you can see that typically 15% of the market will want some type of program or consulting, and 10% will usually want a course or consulting. So that means that you have 25% of the market there that is not getting hit with these services because they just don't want it. And it might actually manifest as something like, hey, I want to think about it. Hey, I'm not sure this is the best fit. Hey, let's circle back in Q2, whatever it may be. Any time where someone on a call or a sales call where they just sort of don't know if it's the best fit is probably because there's another way that they would prefer to consume your service or go through your service, et cetera, et cetera. So what you want to have is different service offerings. So although done for you services are definitely the most popular and in demand, there's always going to be a percentage of the market that wants to learn how to do it themselves, as well as a percentage of the market that wants you to teach them how to do it and do it with them. So these segments of the population typically won't buy done for you services. You'll get them on a sales call. Like I said, they'll seem interested, but they just might not be certain, and they likely are going to ghost you and you'll never hear from them again. They're interested, they can afford it, they're qualified, they need your service. However, they just don't like the way that you are delivering it. And sometimes it might not even be that they are aware of the fact that they don't like how you are delivering it, because so few people actually offer these types of services. It just might be that they have something in their gut that says, nah, it's not the best fit. And, likely sometimes these things pop up as they would rather have something in-house than have, someone come in as an agency and do it for them, or they'd rather learn it themselves to feel qualified or whatever it may be. It might even be an ego thing, et cetera, et cetera. There are a million reasons why this might be the case. So what you want to do is you want to fully monetize your quality leads with do-it-yourself, done with you, and done for you. Honestly, most salespeople will look at this and say, well, they're just not interested. Oh, yeah, they just ghosted. They should have closed, whatever it may be. It's just not true. You just have to deliver the service the exact way they want it delivered. And like I went over just before, the people that want the done for you fully done for them, they just don't have the time or the desire to do it. They just want someone else to take care of it. They don't really care about having it in-house. They don't really care about who does it. They just need it done. That is the person that wants completely done for you. Then 15% will want done with you, which means they'll probably see the value and know that it's important. They're typically more hands-on than the average person, or they might want it in-house or done by their team. They also want to learn how to do it, and they want you to teach them, offer real-time feedback, and work with them as they learn it, because they can't be bothered or they don't have time to go through the iteration cycles of learning it themselves. And they want to dodge some landmines and do it a lot faster. Typically, a lot of great clients will come through here, especially when it is a high-level business that has a team behind them, and they just want you to kind of build the system in-house with them, because a lot of times if you have more resources, that turns out a little bit better, but that's just kind of a note. It doesn't really have a big effect on the size of the team. A lot of great clients will come through done with you that are smaller anyway. In terms of do it yourself, these people would rather learn it all on their own for a cheaper price than pay someone to do it for them or help them. These people will typically have more of a specific problem that they need solved, and will either buy a course just to learn how to solve it, or pay you for hourly consulting to help them figure out what needs to be done. Sometimes these people will be more budget conscious if they go for the lower price thing, but a lot of the times it will also just be someone with a really specific thing. They don't necessarily need a lot of help. It's just maybe one or two specific insights or one or two landmines that they can dodge. So what happens typically is that you, on a sales call, will say, hey, we can do all this for you easy. And they'll say, okay, when in reality, like, maybe I just need some one-on-one coaching. Maybe I just need to know, maybe I just need an SOP for this, like a course or something like that. So what you want to do is you want to follow these guidelines. You want to make sure you have options for do-it-yourself, done with you, and done for you. So you want to have a course and a consulting service for do-it-yourself. Do not sell the course for less than $1,000, and do not sell your consulting for less than $500 an hour. Then you want to have a program for done with you. So make this program standardized and use the exact same process for every single client. This will allow you to get good at delivering it and refine the process over time. Then the program should produce some amazing results for anyone that goes through it. And you can charge something like $3K a month for 3 months for a total of $9K. And you want to make this option cheaper than your done for you service on a monthly basis, but more expensive overall. Then what you want to have is a one-time service and a recurring service for done for you. So lots of people will only have a recurring service and they will be obsessed with their MRR. Recurring revenue is really good. It's obviously stable, but it shouldn't be your only source of revenue. You want to have one-time services that you offer as well. And these are great because they're usually very time efficient, because you can charge a lot for relatively little work, and it is less risky for someone to buy a one-time service from you than a recurring service. Like I said before, it's kind of like going on a first date before you commit to them. And then once they buy your one-time service and they get an amazing result, it's going to be much easier to sell them into your recurring service. And as long as and they'll probably last longer as clients than they would otherwise, because they go into the relationship with a bit more trust and you have a bit more authority, because obviously they've already paid you, versus if they just jump straight into the recurring service, they're kind of still waiting. They're like kind of a little bit more touchy than they would have been otherwise. Some notes on this: when you're monetizing the quality leads, majority of the revenue will come from services and programs. This group is more sophisticated and successful and will not be as likely to buy a product or generate partnership revenue. And it still can happen, and does to a small extent, but it will not be the bulk. And although this group only represents 3% of the market, it accounts for almost 100% of the sales of programs and services. This is natural, and it's always going to be like this, so don't sweat too much about that. And the other thing is that this group will account for roughly 1/3 of your overall revenue. So if you're only monetizing this group right now, you're missing out on a lot of high margin revenue from the brokies and the beginners. So you can see here, there's only 3 people in this group, or 3% of the entire market, but they account for a lot of the revenue. It's precisely 1/3, but I'm sure you already know that. In terms of the profit breakdown by type, we've gone through this a few times, but typically you're going to see that it is quite similar, apart from a few key differences. Earlier in the document, I said we want to have relatively equal split between each of the 4 monetization methods, because that is what builds a solid, stable business. And in the sample of 100,000 leads, we can monetize them effectively in all 4 ways. And we've used basically industry standard metrics. So we essentially had to make them up in terms of the numbers and plug the equations in to get there. But we're not using anything that's not really average for almost any target market. A 2% conversion rate on low ticket products is not that difficult to achieve, especially when you have 5 or more products in your arsenal. And if 2% of people buy your products, especially when they have a lot of choices, that's kind of the case. Then we have 0.185% conversion rate for services, which could be on the low end, and you should be able to sell more than 185 services to a group of 100,000 people, whether that be courses or actual services. That's pretty conservative. And it's really a similar thing with the program. So none of these numbers should indicate anything crazily special. They should be really achievable. And then finally, for the partnerships in these examples, what we basically mean is affiliate. So over time, you should be able to get more than 1.5% of people for your partnerships or affiliate revenue. And basically what that means is that only 15 out of every 1,000 people use our multiple affiliate links to sign up for something. In reality, it should be more than that, and people may sign up for affiliates with different links and go through multiple of them. So we should really be able to do that. So with that, we have achieved even splits. And in our example, we're basically pretty close to achieving dead even splits of profit between each of the 4 monetization methods, ranging from 23% to 27% of the overall share. This is really, really excellent. And if you can do this, it will lead to a very valuable business. And this is what happens when you fully monetize your target market. You don't need any more leads, but you have way, way, way more profit. And you can see in terms of the breakdown per group, each group, obviously 80% of the market, 17% of the market, and 3% between brokies, beginners, and quality leads. You have 160K for products in brokies, 34K of products sold to beginners, and 6K of products sold to quality leads. Then in terms of services, you might sell 85K to beginners, 115K to quality leads, and then you might have programs. You might not sell any to brokies. You might sell 72K to beginners and 115K to quality leads. Then in terms of partnerships, you might make close to 200K from brokies, 25K from beginners, and 115 from quality leads. Then in terms of total profit, 350K from brokies, 216K from beginners, and 250 from quality leads, which leaves you with a 43, 26, and 30% split between each of the groups, and 817K in total profit. Then when you look at a before versus after, you can see that it's really, really important to monetize your entire market, because when you only sell services to clients as the singular monthly recurring deal, you're missing out on 97% or more of your addressable market. Of course, brokies at the top represent 80%, but not 80% of the dollar value, as they usually new, don't have much money, and are not totally serious. But through products and partnerships, they will still make up over 43% of our total profit in our scenario. This profit would not have been had if we only sold client services, and then you add another 26% of profit to the beginners that we didn't have before, and we were essentially missing out on 70% of the total profit if we only monetize that 3% of your market that is actively looking for our solution. So if you instantly added, or not instantly, I shouldn't even say instantly, but if you were able to add 70% of total profit without adding more leads, it would probably be worth looking into. It'd probably be very interesting, I would say. because the truth is only 30% of our profit comes from quality leads, or only 30% of our profit should come from quality leads. And this exercise essentially shows the true problem that many B2B businesses face, which is that they're missing out on 70% of total profits, and even more if they don't monetize their quality leads through things like programs, products, and partnerships as well. So imagine if you had 3x as much profit in your business without changing anything other than your monetization structure right now. There's literally what we've been talking about through the course of this video, through the course of this document, because there is usually quite a lot of low-hanging fruit. If you've been around for a while in your business, you can pretty clearly see that there would be old leads in your pipeline that you can immediately re-engage as well. So you don't even need to go and get new people. You can probably look back through your pipeline and consider what would be a great fit to sell some of your old leads. And you can see the breakdown here. So you can see before, you only have 3% of the market converting 3% of the time, which means 100 conversions at 5K, 500K total revenue, 25% margin, 125K profit. And you can see the photos above and below are prime examples of B2B businesses versus their true potential. When you only monetize 3% of the market that is actively looking, you lose so much profit. I don't need to say it again, but I do, because it is so clear how much revenue is being left on the table. And in addition to this, when you only sell services to that 3% and not programs, products, or partnerships, you're missing out on even more. Because if you only sell services, you're basically missing out on 50% of the potential profit from your quality leads, on top of missing out on the potential profit from the 97% of the market that's not looking. So you can imagine how that would be a total nightmare for 99% of B2B businesses. Because when you look at the fully built out funnel with all of the different products, you can see the breakdown there. That turns out to be $817,000 in profit. So I'll just leave that up there for a second, maybe even go through it quickly. So the breakdown here is that products will appeal to basically 100% of the market, services will appeal to 3% of the market, and programs will appeal to 20% of the market, while your partnerships will also be 100%. Conversions to 0.185, 0.1, and 1.5. Estimated conversions as a total per 100,000 leads equals 2,185, 20, 1,500. Lifetime value, $100, 4.3K, 12K, $150. And then what that pans out to is 200K in rev, 800K in rev, 240K in rev, and 225K in rev, respectively, with the profit margins obviously varying there between 100, 25%, 75%, 100%, equaling $817,000 in profit. And, you know, obviously those numbers are quite arbitrary, but you can see how if you only have one of these lanes, or let's say if you only have services, that leaves you with only 200K, versus if you just add these other ones in, you make a lot more. So if you found this video interesting, you can find 11 others just like them. I'll leave the link to that somewhere around this video, so you can get 11 others just like this: cold email, content, prospecting, all of the above, everything B2B lead generation similar to this. You can grab that at the link, and then you can also join the free class, which goes over exactly how Matt scaled to 900K a month in under 12 months. So if you find that interesting, I will see you there, and hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video.